Hey everyone, it is your girl Kiki and I am back with another video. So tonight I want to do the movie Set It Off. So let's go ahead and dive in. Set It Off is a 1996 film directed by F. Gary Gray. This movie portrays a four female friend group from the projects of Los Angeles committing a bank robbery, all for different reasons. The four friends are Stoney, played by Jada Pinkett, Cleo, played by Queen Latifah, Frankie, played by Vivica A. Fox, and Titi, played by Kimberly Elise. Let's dive in and have a discussion about this classic. Okay, so we know that Stoney has a younger brother named Stevie, right? She desperately wants him to go to college to be able to make a good life for himself because they live in the projects. And of course, from what we see, they didn't have much money. It was mentioned that their parents were killed in a car accident very briefly, from what I remember. Something I would never understand is Stoney sleeping with Nate to get the check she needed for her brother to go to college and then ripping the check up when finding out Stevie doesn't want to go to school. Yes, I understand her anger and her frustration with him for lying and for not wanting to go to school. But girl, you laid on your back with this nasty, sweaty old man. The least you could have done was pay some bills with the check. I seen someone mention that maybe the check was rolled out to the school because that was the purpose of it. Now, although, of course, we do know that this is a movie, but just for conversation's sake, even if that were the case, I would have went right back to Nate and asked for him to write me out a new check because no, absolutely not. Excuse me. Once again, allergies are bothering me, so I do apologize. Also, I know young men do crazy things sometimes to try and be cool, but I still don't see how it made sense for Stevie to get a design in his head like his friend had, knowing he's not even from that area. Clearly, that was a setup on the friend's behalf. On another note, Frankie telling her higher ups that she knew the guys that robbed the bank wasn't a smart move on her end. I mean, if it were me, there's no way I would mention that because, in all honesty, I mean, people may not agree with me or the whole situation, but her knowing the perpetrator can come off as suspect, whether people want to agree with that, admit it or not. This is the whole reason why I would have just kept my mouth closed if I was Frankie. I do feel like maybe they could have just suspended her while they did like an investigation or something to figure out whether or not she was in cahoots. I don't feel like they just had to fire her just off rip like that. But it's my opinion. Now, okay, when TT's baby got taken away because he drunk the cleaning product, and Cleo is like, you know what you got to do. In my head, I'm like, yeah, the money will help her get childcare, but it would be very nerve-wracking for me to have to show up at court after participating in such a huge crime such as bank robbery. Cleo lived in a garage, but I always wondered whose garage she lived in. Like, I mean, did she rent out somebody's garage to their house? I don't know. I just always wondered. Okay, Cleo's girlfriend, she was very mute throughout the movie. She literally did not have not one line. And she didn't speak when anyone spoke to her. Cleo really was out here spending that little first $3,000 they got when they split up that $12,000 on this girl and all of this. I'm like, she don't even talk. She don't talk to your friends. She's rude. Like, what? I want to know why the first time they robbed the bank, they only got $12,000. Speaking of the $12,000, like, I know y'all weren't in there that long, but dang, it was two of them doing the robbing while Cleo was the getaway car. But I just would have thought they would have grabbed more money than they did. I seen some think pieces about how Luther found out about the money, but to me, it's pretty simple. It was his business and establishment, so of course it's not hard for him to be able to look at cameras and see what's going on in his place of business. Even back then, even with the old cameras, most people I'm sure that had their own businesses, especially if they weren't in the best area. Now I'm assuming Luther's business probably was just not in the best area of LA. I would assume he would have cameras in his place of business, even though this was the 90s. They still had those old cameras in businesses to so that he can know what's going on in his establishment. That just wasn't a good place to hide that money. I understand the intentions, but it just wasn't a good place. Okay, so on to another think piece. Stevie was wrongfully killed by law enforcement, right? That would have been an automatic huge lawsuit for Stoney. Don't get me wrong, I know everyone was distraught and just, hurt by what happened. And once again, yes, I know it's just a movie, but for discussion's sake, I can't understand why instead of putting focus on executing, I can't understand why instead of putting focus on getting that lawsuit started, they had their focus on executing robbing banks. Especially the fact that Stoney met Keith, played by Blair Underwood, which was her love interest. That man was smart, and I'm sure he had all kind of connections. I would have been discussing with him the details of what happened so that I can get a lawsuit going and see what I would need to do. She would have gotten millions, I'm sure, which would have solved the money problem they had. Cleo sacrificed herself so that her friends could get away, and she knew she wouldn't make it when she suggested that they split up. The ending when Stoney has all the money on the bed and is crying will always choke me up. That part, I can never really make it through that part without crying. It was just sad, a sad situation. How she was just, her brother gone, parents gone, her friends, and then the man, she couldn't even be with her man because, of course, she done robbed banks and she had to flee the country. So, y'all let me know what y'all think about this classic and the think pieces. Let me know if you have any think pieces that I didn't mention. Just let me know. Let me know what you think. Until next time, bye.